Hey there, welcome to My Green Pets. I'm William Green. We are in another green phase, lots of growth, nothing in flower at this time, but a few buds on the way. So let's have a look and see where everything is at. All right, please forgive me for ending a sentence with a preposition. Let's start out with Bulbophyllum Lovely Elizabeth. Lovely Elizabeth has a spike that has grown out significantly in the past couple weeks, and it's getting to that point. It's getting to that point where it's going to bloom pretty soon. Unfortunately, I don't know if I'm going to be around to see it. I'm heading off on a 2-week trip starting next weekend, so as usual, my plants like to bloom when I leave, but who knows, we might get to see a little bit of it. Cattleya Rex Unu is going to be blooming soon. We've got some nice little buds here, as well as some bigger ones in this sheath pushing out. And those we'll get to see the buds, but I don't think we're going to get to see the blooms again, unfortunately. Now these guys, I think I'll be back by the time these are in bloom. Calyrex Inti, one of my favorite plants. I took off the shrivelly back section and I am going to try to mount it. You can see that root growth has begun. There are several new roots poking out, and hopefully it won't be long before that plant has got lots and lots of roots and these wrinkly bulbs can plump back up. Next to it I've got my last division of Calyrex Wida. Beautiful blooms on Wida this year. This division is on eBay right now, and the auction ends later today. This is Sunday, June 18th, and I believe it ends at around 8 p.m. Mountain Time. So hopefully that's going to do well, and I'll have some space, free up a little space in the tent. I had a terracotta dish of my cross Mayu by Orchid, and I divided all those up finally, and so you can see I divide them up according to their size. So these are the smallest ones, these are the next largest ones, and then how many are there? 4? 5. And then these are the largest ones from that particular flask. So it's great because when you get a flask from Meyer's Conservatory, you're guaranteed at least 16 plants. But all in all, I had 30 out of this flask, so you really get your money's worth with those. Seedlings, 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 seedlings everywhere. Hopefully this year we're going to see some of those seedlings reach blooming size, particularly this Cattleya labiata. I think there's a possibility it might try to bloom. I was hoping that this Trione Cascens would try to bloom this year, but I don't think it's going to. And then my hybrid Hardiana is getting to be that size, but still not quite there yet. Watching it very carefully, hoping that it is still okay. These clay pots, you have to be really careful. There's no ventilation at the bottom except for the drain hole, and I wonder if I shouldn't pull this guy out and put him in something that is a little bit more well ventilated. But the bottom of the pot, I only have granite rock and a little bit of bark on top, so should be okay, but you never know. I have to really be careful not to overwater these guys. But yeah, lots of seedlings in the intermediate stages. Not blooming this year, but hopefully blooming soon. More seedlings. These are my Peru Flora Cattleya Rex seedlings. This is the largest one. It seems to me that when you pot them by themselves is when they really are able to start taking off. So a lot of these have been separated out and just potted alone. I think there's 3 plants in this one, and you can see it wants to be big. So these might need to be separated out. And Vandefalcata is finally done blooming, which means I am most likely going to repot it this week. I feel like the leaves just aren't the color green that I want them to be. So maybe a repot would be helpful. Bulbophyllum echinolabium has a really nice new growth pushing out, and you can see all the roots in the medium down there. Very exciting. Bulbophyllum medusae, my alba plant, has got the beginning of spikes on it. So this might also be blooming out of season like Lovely Elizabeth. Usually those bloom in like November. And then back in the back here, all the catasetum types. And what I'm discovering, or what I'm thinking is, last week I showed you that a couple of them had rotted out in the middles. And I thought it was just because that, water had gotten in there and pooled. But when I thought about it, all of the plants that had that rot problem were right up against the back. And what's significant about that? In the morning, the sun is shining directly at them. So I have a feeling that it's not just the fact that they had water in their crowns, but also I think it was heated up. I think heat had a factor to it. The sunlight, the heat, and the water. I think that may have tipped them over the edge, because other plants that had water sitting on them, no issue. So I'm wondering if that was it. So very excited about these two. Cycnoches cooperi, Cycnoches varsvichii, looking very good. And I would expect within a month, at least on cooperi, within a month or two, that we might start to see the beginnings of a spike on it. But probably the furthest along is this one. This is a hybrid, so most likely they grow the fastest. But some of these bloom towards the end of their growing season, and then some of them bloom more towards the middle. Like cooperi bloomed, it started spiking in July last year. Alright, let's have a quick look at the carnivores. I read a really interesting article in Wired magazine, thanks to a link that a friend posted, about Nepenthes in the, well, not even in the United States, but just worldwide. Nepenthes have become so coveted by collectors that poaching in their native habitats is just, it's out of control. And 100-year-old plants are being chopped up and shipped overseas. And the article pointed out that it's easy to blame the local people for poaching these plants, but the true cause of this poaching is people like you and me who will stop at nothing to get the plants that we want. I can definitely say that I have purchased plants on eBay that, in retrospect, were pretty shady, and they were possibly taken from the wild. For example, I've seen Cattleya rex offered online, or on eBay especially, that the plants they don't look greenhouse grown. They look the leaves are kind of torn up, yellow, holes in them, that kind of stuff. And it's possible that those plants were not grown in a greenhouse at all, that they were actually torn out of the wild and shipped overseas to arrive on your doorstep, only to die a few months later, because as you know, it's already a very difficult to grow species, but tearing it out of the wild and then shipping it halfway across the world makes it even worse. So I would lightly encourage everyone to maybe double check where their plants are coming from, and if you don't care about that, maybe think about caring about it, because when these plants are functionally extinct in the wild and they only exist in greenhouses, that's kind of on us. Anyway, not to be preachy, but here I am with my collection as well. I can attest that all of my Nepenthes are seed grown, um, but you know, at some point in the past, they were taken out of their parents or grandparents or were taken out of the wild. But yeah, I'm actually getting pretty excited about these little guys. This is a Bongso cross that I called Bob. And this one got big enough that I've put a little Osmocote pellet in the pitcher. And it's been a few days and I haven't seen anything happen. Last time I tried it, this happened. The top of the pitcher just kind of turned brown. So I spared this one. I didn't put anything in this one, but I definitely wanted to see what this one was going to do. Looks like it's going to be okay. It's putting out a new one there. And what I find with Nepenthes is that it's kind of like watching an orchid bud up and bloom every time it produces a new pitcher. That's kind of the attraction about them is you you know and it but you know it's constantly happening. So like this one is, you can see it's putting out a hairy new leaf, and there should be a new pitcher on the end of that leaf. This one's doing the same down here. So you're constantly getting these new pitchers that are coming, and each one's slightly larger than the last. So it's very similar, I find, to watching an orchid bloom. You know, you get the bud coming up and then swelling and then bursting into bloom, and then but the difference is with the pitcher plants, it's happening constantly most of the year, whereas a lot of the orchids, it happens once a year and that's it. So it's true, they are kind of fun. And I think that is all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for stopping by. Let me know how you're doing in the comments. And I'll see you next time right here on My Green Pets. I'm William Green. Bye-bye.